I want to do a few things in Mathematica with a logistic example. So work with a logistic example, and let dx dt equal f of x, where f of x equals x times 3 minus x. So my vector field defining the flow of the differential equation is, I guess I could think of it as f of x in the horizontal direction. And I'm going to start by defining my function f of x. If I want Mathematica to take an input, I use this square bracket, and then I tell it what the name of the input is, and I put an underscore here. And in a moment, when I press the equal sign, you're going to see that this thing changes color, indicating that Mathematica understood my notation. There you go, that just happened. X times 3 minus x. Okay, and if I want this to run, I press Shift and Enter at the same time, and it's slowly running. And then I'm still waiting for it to run, but in the meantime, I can now evaluate this function that I've just defined. I could evaluate it at 0. Let me press Enter. Enter, kind of everything within this cell is going to evaluate at once. And so pressing Enter lets me enter more lines into the cell. So at 0, f is 0. At 1, f is 2. At 2, f is 2. And I want to start by, let me make a little subtitle, plot the vector field along the x-axis. And let me make a text cell. I'm going to use the vector plot command to plot the vector field. Okay, so vector, so I type vector, and you can see that some options are kind of showing up. Here are the different suggestions Mathematica has, and I'm just gonna, it's hovering over the right one, so I'm just gonna press Enter, and then square bracket, close bracket, and the substance of my command is gonna go where the red caret just showed up. Now, vector plot actually wants to take in something that's 2 by 2. Let me just make this quick example. So this is going to have vectors that point in the 1, 1 direction at every point in the plane, and the plane is going to range from -1 to 4 and -1 to 4. Okay, there's that vector field. That's not the vector field I'm making right now. My vectors point in the f of x direction, f of x comma 0, because they don't have a vertical component. And I don't want to show much of a y range because I basically want to show what's happening along the x-axis. So x is going from -1 to 4, and y is going from -0.3 to 0.3. And this aspect ratio is off, so I'm going to reset that to automatic. Okay, this aspect ratio is better. Now these ticks are off, so this box around the outside is called a frame, and so I'm going to change my frame ticks to, I want the x ones to be automatic, and I want the y one, I just want 0 to show up. Okay, I'm not sure why this extra 0 is showing up over here, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. Actually, maybe I don't want 0. Maybe at the 0 point, I want the letter x to show up. So that's kind of a funky option. And now I need to deal with the fact that the vectors aren't happening at the points where I want them to occur. And so I'm going to use the vector points command. And I could set it to 10 vector points. That doesn't do much for me. I could make it coarse. But actually, specifically, I only want to evaluate vectors. Oh, notice that when I ran it and there was an error in my syntax, it turns red, and there's this plus sign, and this plus sign is telling me that I have this error, that this arrow can't be followed by this square bracket. I want to put in a list of points. For example, if I put in 0, 0, 1, 0, I get a vector, one of the vectors I want. And so I could enter all the points that I want by hand, but actually I want a whole list of points, and so I'm going to use the table command because that command is able to generate a list of points for me. And if I'm curious about the syntax of a command, I can just do question mark and then the name of the command. So table of expression comma n generates okay, that made 3 copies of, but that's not what I want. I want my expression to be value comma 0, but I don't actually want it to be value. I actually want to fill in a number here, and I want that number to change. So I want to use this kind of list that goes from imin to imax. So value comma -1 comma 4, that was my range of x. Okay, this is good. By default, it takes steps of 1. Let's see if 1 works for us, or I could take steps of, well, I could take steps of 2, or I could take steps of 0.5. You get the picture. So I'm just going to take this and copy it and put it right here. Maybe I want a little bit more than that. Okay. Here's my vector field. By the way, the font size of these axes labels was getting set by the fact that I have this set options command up here that I copied and pasted from another notebook. I got this from the internet. I don't have this memorized, but it is setting the font size of all of my plots. So if I set that to an 8, you can see that the size immediately became smaller. And if I set it back to an 18, the font size is big again. Anyway, I've successfully plotted the vector field. At each point along the x-axis, I've plotted dx dt. The length of this vector, the size of the vector head, is showing the direction of dx dt, we can see the direction of dx dt. If it's pointing this way, dx dt is negative. If it's pointing this way, it's positive. And then the length is telling us the magnitude. So I've successfully plotted the vector field associated with this differential equation.